All right, I feel like it has been a long time since I have just sat down, played with some makeup, and talked to all of you. Well, technically it hasn't been a long time because I actually filmed this video yesterday with no audio. So I'm here to do it again, y'all. I'm here to hang out with you. We're just gonna have a little story time chat. I mean, not like there's enough in my life that's like all that exciting to call it story time necessarily, but just a little hangout, what's been going on, getting ready for the holidays, all of that. I'm also going to share with you sort of like my current makeup vibes, how I've been enjoying wearing my makeup this season. And yeah, I mean, we're just going to sit down and have some fun together. So I hope that you will hang out with me for this very early morning. This very early morning, I have my big cup of tea. This is the last day for this Invisalign tray, so I don't care if it looks like I've been drinking tea for 6 years after this. And I'm a little tired. It's been a couple less than super stellar sleep nights, and I'll get into that in just a minute, but I'm excited to get to hang out with you before I get ready for work. So I will say that today we're not really using any new makeup. We're using some things that are in my project use up. We're using some things that I recently oohed and awed over in a video where I was doing a bunch of swatches. So this is really just a makeup play date with the things that I've already had, but hopefully you're here for maybe some tips and tricks, maybe just a good laugh. We'll see how this rolls through. But if we haven't met before, my name is Kelly and I'm a professional hair and makeup artist. And here on my channel, I strive to keep beauty real. Real honest, real relatable, and real fun. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, don't forget to click subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. All right, we're going to dive in. We're actually going to start with our eyes because we're going to do something a bit sparkly. And that way I can just save the complexion for later with easy cleanup. So recently in a video, I was talking about how I've been enjoying wearing my multichromes in a bit more of like a light and loose way, you know, like that way I can still get a lot of use out of some of these super shifty sparkly shades, but in a bit more ethereal, a bit more loose, carefree way. Now listen, you were gonna have to pry my sparkly, beautiful eyeshadows out of my cold dead hands. Like, I don't care if eyeshadow isn't the trend. I think we're kind of rolling back into it though, but I don't care if it's not the trend. It makes me happy, especially on days like today. Well, first of all, I feel like it is dark. Like the hours of light that we have are like 10 a.m. to like 3 p.m. right now, I feel. And so I want light, I want bright, I want a bit of color, but in like a carefree and super easy to apply way. So that's what we're gonna do. I pulled out, oh, I should probably say, since I filmed this video yesterday, I did a different eye look with the same intentions. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the clips of that eye look, just the eye look part, at the end of this video, just set to some music in case you want to see it. Yesterday I was using some Cleona shades, and today I want something with just a little bit more razzle and dazzle, a little bit more sparkle. So I pulled out some of my Divinas. Wow, I just about hit myself in the face with these Divinas. So I pulled out some of my Divinas, and we're gonna do kind of like a purpley blurply look. Why not? We're doing it. All right, so the first thing that I want to say, and I shared this especially with the Cleona shade that I use because it has a fairly light base, is when I'm doing something that's a bit more thinned out, let's say, I really want to make sure to cancel out any veins, any discoloration on my lids. Like I have some redness and I definitely have some darkness here. So you could go through with an eye base if you have one that blanks out your eyes enough. Not your actual eyes, your eyelids. You could also go through with concealer. The only thing about some concealers is they do tend to enhance creasing just a little bit if you're using like a really shimmery shade that maybe has more binder. The other thing is that when I go over that and I'm sort of doing a very light wash and blending that shade, sometimes I've found that it actually starts to pick up the concealer that I laid down. So I want something that's a little bit more bulletproof. So we're going to pull out the Danessa Myricks Color Fix. So these are part of the nude collection. Now the great thing about these is because Danessa believes in makeup for everybody, there are a ton of shades. So whatever you need to match your skin tone, you should be able to find. I have the shades 2 and 4, and I'm just going to be mixing these today. A little bit more of the 2 than the 4, but then this way it gets me to my like ideal. So we're going to use, I have it here, I have the brush that I used yesterday. We're going to use the Larife E18, and I'm just going to lay that down just on the upper eyelid. I'm going to zoom you in here so that you can see. All right, so when I lay this down, I don't go through and set it with anything because I find that these definitely, I mean, they are water I think she says they are waterproof, but they're absolutely 100% water resistant, and they dry down and set themselves. So I do find that they have a little bit of a, I want to say like rubber cement that's like extra. A little bit of that sort of like rubbery feel to them, but they aren't tacky at all. So it's sort of that, I don't know, I almost feel like it does help the shadow stick a little bit more, but not in that like tacky, sticky way. So I would say that was about 2/3 of the shade 2 and 1/3 of shade 4. Now, these do dry down fairly quickly, so if you're new to it, I would recommend laying down like just enough for the one eye and then taking out a bit more product onto the back of your hand or your palette or whatever you're using, and then doing the second eye if you're just, you know, newer to it, because you want to be able to blend these out before they set. Now, once they set, I like to just sort of let that dry with my eyes closed. These don't crease, but if I have my eye open when they are setting, they're just the crease of my eyelid, especially with having hooded eyes, it might just like put a crease in there. So I want to let that go. Also, it is very weird filming a YouTube video with your eyes closed for more than like 30 seconds. Like that's just super unnatural, but we're just going to let this go. And I'm not going to put a powder over this. We're going to go straight in with shadow right over the top. Yeah, that feels good. Now, if I get any underneath my eye, which I always seem to do on this side, I think it's just the angle of my hand when I'm using my brush, but does anybody else find that you make more of a mess on one side of your face? Or is it just me? It's probably just me. So I'm just gonna clean this up. I'm just using some micellar water. I should have probably done that before I had my little drying period, but that's okay. So I do that because while I don't necessarily feel like these enhance a lot of texture on the eyelid, I certainly don't want that happening on the underneath where I already have enough wrinkles and crinkles. We don't need to be adding anything else. So now we're going to start, and we are actually going to go through with our shimmer first. I will be going through with a bit of a matte just to help kind of like add some shape to the look. You certainly could just forgo that if you're just going for really quick and easy, but I really like to just have enough shape to add some dimension to the face. Okay, so I was kind of like playing with a few different shades, but I do think I'm going to go through and use Midnight Nova. This is this beautiful, it's like a purple periwinkle. It has a really bright flip to it, which I think that that's what was kind of drawing me into this today, just because it is so dreary. It's so dreary. Now, I am not using a glitter glue or anything like that now because I do want this to be just a little softer. If you really want the intensity, you can use a glitter glue. I don't think that Midnight Nova necessarily needs that, but I am going to wet my brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down the shadow with the wet brush just ever so slightly above my crease. And then once this brush is a bit more dry, I'm going to tilt it on its side and just use that to almost buff that shimmer up a little bit more, and then it kind of like lays out a softer edge. So I'm just not from the realm of cut crease, even when that was like the thing. I can really appreciate the aesthetic of it, but it is not my aesthetic. The other shadow I was looking at using today is Galini or Galine. And I was like, that one is so pretty. But then when I swatched this out and I just saw how much like brightness it has, I was like, oh, I've got to do that one today. Okay, so we're going to take this shadow and pop it on. Now, one of the big reasons I like to do the shadow first for this is because once I get to the portion where I am buffing out this edge, if you are using a shadow that has a lot of micro sparkle, like we all know a lot of Divina shades have that extra sparkle, especially if it's like a little bit larger particle, which she doesn't really have like large particles, but she has so many like tiny, tiny, tiny little sparkles. Once you start using a buffing motion, that can kick some of that off, like under the eye. So, you know, user beware. So now that that shade is on, I'm going to take the other side and using more of just like the edge of it, just buff out that edge just a little bit. We are again going to be going through with a matte, and when I use that brush, that will soften that edge just ever so slightly even more. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. All right, while this eyeshadow is drying a bit more, I am going to go ahead and pick out a matte. Now, yesterday I used my Sydney Grace, but I do think I'm going to go through with Divina today just because I want something a little bit more grungy. And I'm trying to decide if so the base of this is like definitely more blue. So I'm trying to decide if I want to like lean into that. I think a good one to use would be Raven's Frost. The choices, the choices. I could even do, ooh, this would be pretty. London Fog on the edge, but I don't know. I kind of want it just more like dustified. If that even makes any sense. Okay, I think I'm gonna go through and just hit the edge with a bit of ethereal. This one has a bit more, like this I see more of like a stony blue gray. This one I see a bit more purple coming out. And I think that's what I want to lean into, is like just a little bit more taupiness on the edge to keep it softer. If it looks like I'm looking around for something to wipe my fingers off on, that is exactly what I'm doing. So just to keep it softer on the edge, I just want something, I mean, this is not neutral, it's a bit more earthy, I guess I would say. So I'm kicking off most of that, and I'm just going to like dust along the edges here and blur out that multichrome. So this is almost just like serving as, I mean, kind of like an eraser, but it's not necessarily a softener, because it's not like necessarily taking anything away, but it is just softening that edge. And for me, because that color on the very edge, it's almost like a teal bluish, and I just don't want that much blue on the edge. Like, I want it to seem like I'm just wearing some really shimmery eyeshadow, but not that it's like that I have like a blue crease on. But if you wanted to do that, you totally could, and Raven's Frost would be really pretty for that. So hopefully you can see that. Why do I feel like, did my light get moved? I just feel like it's really dark on that side. Okay, so it's just ever so slightly blurred out on the edge, and I feel like it just kind of finishes the look off. You could go in, you know, traditionally then we'd be like building up, probably would have taken the shimmer a little lower, but then building up those darker mattes, making a, I don't want to say a heavier shape, but a more intense shape. This is really just like wisping it off, you know. And I could have gone through with a shade that has, you know, even more, like this definitely has more shine to it, but I could have gone through with something that's more sparkly. But I don't know, there was just something, the shadow was just speaking to me this morning. And just how I always get this area a little dirtier when I am putting on eyeshadow, I also tend to blend this side lower. So I'm just going to clean up these edges and we'll continue with the rest of our face. Now I'm going to leave this out though, because we will use that same shade for underneath the eye. And maybe we'll even do an inner corner. Maybe we'll do an inner corner. I did do one yesterday. There was just something still that I love about a bright pop. Listen, if your makeup is your mood enhancer, do whatever the heck you feel like, right? So the combo that I have really been enjoying for the last like week or so, I pulled out my Studio Water Weight foundation simply because Mac was doing that like whole sale, and I was like, oh, I know that I'm trying to go through this one, but I could use a different shade. I held off. I did not end up getting one because I have so many darn foundations right now, but I'm going to take this and I'm going to use a little bit of my Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin Foundation. I have the shade T5, and honestly for me, part of it is the formula and just how pretty it is on the skin, but it is also, honestly, I'm using it as a color corrector today because I have the shade N25 in the Studio Water Weight, and it is a bit, it's a bit of that like warm, kind of like warm peachy thing. And so the green in this shade just really helps to neutralize it for me. So I'll show you here. I mean, you can see how this one almost looks a little bit more cementy, and this one is a bit warmer. So we'll get the two on. It does seem to be still just a tiny bit lighter than what I need, but we make it work. I mean, these are both fairly light coverage. And when I'm doing just like light makeup like this, I like to have a lightweight product on my skin, although that's, you guys know that that's usually what I prefer anyway, but definitely on days like this. So I'm just going to take 1.5 sprays of Fix Plus and put that on my brush. I am using the new 115 brush from BK Beauty. I'm really liking this a lot. If you want to see, by the way, my review on the whole new trio of the Core Complexion brushes, I do have that video up on my channel. If I remember, I'll link it down below. So this brush has just been working really nicely, but just to shear that product out even a bit more, just a slightly damp brush. Oh, also, I don't know, it's starting to go away. My sleep cap, I wear a sleep cap at night to protect my hair, and my sleep cap like came down. It almost never does that, but it like scooched down in the middle of the night. So I woke up looking like I'd had a scrunchie tied around my forehead. So please enjoy that. It'll be gone by the time I get to work, thankfully. But yeah. So, okay, story time. Not last night, but the night before I originally filmed this. I was laying in bed and I thought that I was hearing Jet like scratching on the floor or something. Jet is our pit bull pup, by the way. And he's been having like some leg discomfort. So I was like, I don't know what is going on with this guy. I was like, it sounds like he is like almost walking in place or like scratching or something. Is he up and walking? And so I like sit up, I look down at the end of the bed and I'm like, okay, he doesn't even look like he's moving. I think he's sleeping. And then I realize I can hear in our walk-in closet in our bedroom, I could hear something and it sounded like it was coming from above, like in the ceiling. I could hear like scratch, 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 scratch. And I was like, there is something in our house. There is something in the like crawl space. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And so Jeremy has always said, if you ever hear anything, like let me know, wake me up. And so I did, but I think I was in such a panic. I think I literally said, there's something in our house. I didn't say it quite so panicked, but you know, so he like shoots up in bed and I'm like, there's something up in the ceiling. I think he's like an animal. I'm like, yes, I think it's an animal because I'm sure at first he thought like there's someone in our house. I'm gonna just go through with the Haus Labs Light Neutral Concealer just right on the under eye. So I was like, yes, I don't know what it is, but I can hear this darn scratching. And so, of course, in the commotion of him, you know, clamoring, turning on the light, like all that stuff, it stops. And I might actually today just pop a little bit down the nose too. And so, you know, we're like sitting there and he's like, well, try to explain it to me. And so, of course, I'm like trying to imitate this thing. So he was finally able to hear it. So let me tell you, I don't even know what time it was. I didn't want to psych myself into that whole like, well, now you only have X hours of sleep left. Well, now you only have this. So I I just I don't even know what time it was, but it was really hard because at first, you know, we had laid back down and now I'm like waiting for it to go to do it again so that he can hear it, you know, and then it finally does. And then you're trying to not hear it anymore because you just want to go to sleep. Because like there's nothing that we're going to be able to do in the middle of the night. And it was a pretty sleepless night between getting woken up by that. Ugh. So that's probably why I didn't notice yesterday that my microphone wasn't turned on. I'm going to blame it on that. Ugh. So one thing that I have to say, oh, I'll get into that. I won't leave you guys hanging. I just wanted to say one thing that I've definitely been finding that I have been doing is wearing less and less concealer under the eye. Like Kelly in her early 30s, probably. Yeah, like 27 into the early 30s, it was all about the very bright under eye, like just, you know, flawless porcelain. And, you know, I am really all about just enough to get rid of a bit of the darkness. But on days like today, when I'm wearing such a lighter eye look, the only time is if I'm wearing like, I have to have a little bit more coverage, and you'll see probably in that other look. But when I'm wearing something that's blue or purple, or if I'm wearing a darker smoky eye, I really have to make sure that my inner corners are really covered because it just automatically looks darker just with those colors. So I do have to be careful of that. But there's just something to keeping it light and fresh. And to me, the more you have on, the more there is that can like crease, that can go wrong, you know? And so I've just, especially right now, y'all, at the salon, hair hairdresser holidays are insanity. And so I am working 10 to 12 hour days most days. I'm pretty much working, I'm not gonna lie, I'm working almost all of my days off. Uh, I was in the salon Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, this last week. I had Sunday off, but now I'm working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then going back in Monday, Tuesday. I don't know. I'm losing track here. So, and working 10 to 12 hours on those days. So it's been a lot. I'm going to use my Charlotte Tilbury because I'm working on it. I'm working on both the MAC and the Charlotte Tilbury. We're not going to get either of these done by the end of the year. Like I'd have to like do some serious drag makeup with this powder to get it done by the end of the year, but I have been doing a good go at it. Now I know that this is a finishing powder more than a setting powder, but with me having the light shade, I do feel like this powder oxidizes just a tiny bit. And so then that shade just tends to work really well for me. And I'm just going to pop a little bit on my T-zone. Okay, cool. Great. Now let's finish up these eyes and then we'll get the rest of the face done. All right, so back to the creature story. the creature in the crawl space. So it turns out that a very big raccoon has gotten into our space. It evidently ripped a ton of shingles off the top of the roof trying to get in and found a spot and has now burrowed a like hole in our roof. So Jeremy was up there yesterday having to patch the roof and set a trap for this raccoon. Like, I tell you what, I am just going to say it's been a hard year this year, and this is not what we needed at the end of the year. So yeah, so we have a raccoon. Now last night, I don't know if it's in the trap or not. And it's just one of those like catch and release traps or whatever, but I don't know if it's in the trap or not. We didn't hear it last night. I mean, it can wreak some major havoc up there, you know? So hopefully it is done today. Jeremy has a job that he had to go out of town for today to do, so he's not able to monitor that probably until he gets home. By the way, I'm using the 210 just to lay down some of that same color, that ethereal shade, under the eye. So that's a lot. So now with this video probably being a little late because I won't have the time to edit it before next week, I think this is probably going to be going up after Christmas. So if you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. And if you are enjoying other holidays this season, happy holidays to you. Let's see. So we've got a lot going on, y'all. We've got a lot going on. So as I'd mentioned, it's always a crazy season for me this time of year. It's just kind of like packing everything in and trying to get everything done for the holidays. We also have an extra celebration this year because the Saturday after Thanksgiving, when we saw Jeremy's kids, his daughter told us that they are eloping this weekend. So we are going to be going to celebrate their marriage, and I'm really excited for that. It did honestly create a bit of chaos for me at work because the Saturday before Christmas is very busy. So I had to kind of like flip-flop. Luckily, my clients were great, and I was able to get enough of my day scheduled so that I will be able to run and get to see them get married. So very excited for that. Other than that, Christmas, I have like a week before Christmas. So a lot to do in that time. Okay, so now let's go ahead and... All right, so now let's go ahead and we're going to do some brows. So am I the only person that... Like, I have probably 4 or 5 different things that I use in my brows, different ways that I like my brows to look. That's just me. I just have a vibe. I don't know, like over the years I've done the really strong like carved out Instagram brows. I've done the very like laminated brows. I mean, I'm never going to be able to get a bushy brow, but I like a fluffy brow. I don't know that I'll ever be going back to like super skinny brows, but recently, especially on days like this where my makeup's a bit more diffused, I like to just have a soft pencil brow or a powder brow. I find that pencil can just get me through a little bit more of my day. So what I've been doing, I have my Precisely My Brow Pencil, of course, from Benefit here. I'm just going to go through and etch a few lines in. This color that you see right here in my brow, I have no hair there. Like I have like 2 hairs down here. So all of this is just my old microblading, but my skin there is quite shiny, and my brow hair is not, like brow hair is not super shiny, you know? So I like to have something just to mattify it a little bit. The powder really does help with that if I'm using a powder brow, but the pencil just gives it a little bit more texture, I guess. So I'm just going through and I'm adding in a little bit more just in those areas that I need it and this shade 3.5. I like to use something a little lighter and a little warmer. If I went as cool and dark as what my actual brows are, it would be really intense and it wouldn't be quite as soft. So I do like to go in just a little bit lighter, but I do really like this shade. So I'm just gonna flick this through very lightly. This side got a little bit less than light, so I'm just gonna spoolie that out. And then I have been using, now I use the Gimme Brow when I like to really lay down a good amount of color and get that really great texture from Gimme Brow because it has all those fibers in it. That I just use almost like a pomade and I'll just lay it right down onto the skin. Today I'm going to use the Big Bush Brow from Urban Decay. Similar vibes, but I don't find it to be as pigmented. Now this, it could just be the shade. I think it's like brown sugar. Yeah, brown sugar. What I like to do is I come backwards to coat the underside of my brow hairs just to make them a little thicker, and honestly it also just kind of helps them stay put. And then I do run this all the way down to the base of my brow. So the pencil kind of gives me the hair strokes, and then this with the tint that it has, the lighter tint, and that matte feel, it just really makes me feel like it's just natural kind of hairy. But there's something about this, like I said, it could just be the color. It's not quite as pigmented as the Gimme Brow. But I feel like this one maybe has a bit more hold than Gimme Brow does. I don't find that that has a ton of hold to it. I don't think either of these necessarily do. It's not gonna slick your brows into place, but I don't know, there's just something to a natural kind of soft, full brow that I've been enjoying, as full as my brows are ever gonna get. So I just feel like it's just soft. It just looks natural. Okay, so now I'm going to do just a bit of contouring, and I'm going to use my contour wand, not just because I'm trying to use this up this year, but this truly, it still is my favorite contour product. There's something about it. And I have been finding, so as I have lost some weight, this area here is not, it's not loose, it's not jowly, but I am finding that my face shape right here almost dips. I don't really have a lot here. I think, when everyone first started contouring, everybody just watched influencers or whatever doing their makeup in a specific way, and everyone just came in and contoured under their chin. Now some people need that, but not everybody does. If I do that, it just makes this recede even more, and I feel like it makes this area pop out more. You really have to be aware of your own facial features and put that darkness where you need it. So I'm just going to, and I just have a little bit right there, but I'm just going to contour right here. Just tip up to make sure I don't leave a little line, and right on this side where I feel like I just get that dip. It's firm, but it still looks like it's doing something. Anyway, and then I just kind of blend it out a little bit. So just a little tip to kind of analyze your own face and just check to see what is good for you, right? If you are doing a little bit of contouring or anything like that, I just think that that tiny little bit, and just knowing that you're doing it for your face shape and not for whatever you saw in a 30-second reel done by a 20-year-old, right? I don't have anything against 20-year-olds, but I'm just saying, you gotta compare apples to apples. Okay, so I really like this eye look, but I do think I want a little bit on the inner corner. I know I'm hopping around here, but I wasn't sure if I was gonna do an inner corner, but I do think we're gonna do a little something, just a little something. Let's go ahead and take this shade. This is Runts, also from Davina, and this one just has that same lightly shifty and sparkly. We've got that blue and also a little bit of that iridescent light tone. And I'm just taking this dry and I'm just going to pop it on the inner corner just for a bit more brightness and just blend it in. This color, almost like yesterday, which is funny, it almost pulls the shift of what's on that Multichrome and just kind of pulls it in. And I'm just using the What's Up Beauty R107. Yeah, it just gave us a little bit of sparkle. So there is just something to letting a multichrome do what it was meant to do. Look magical, without a lot of work. When you give a multi-chrome your entire lid space to be able to shift, I mean, right now, even just dead on, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I'll try to take a picture to insert it if I can. I have that deeper, I have that more like teal bluish color. I see a bit more of like the periwinkle kind of like blue, and then more purpley pink on the inner corner here. Just let it be. Just celebrate it as is and in a softer way. I just think that this is so pretty. Okay, you know what I think is also pretty? Lots of blush. Let's do it. This could be a pretty one, and I think that, ooh yeah, that's gonna be nice. This is Dreamy from Sydney Grace. I don't know if this was from a mystery bag or if it's still available, but you know that I love these. And of course I'm going through with the 109. Cannot stop using this brush for creams. I just love it so very much. And I think, first of all, I think baby hair, you need to get out of the way. And I think I'm gonna go for, you know, a good amount of blush today. Yesterday I did layer a powder over my cream, but this has so much pigment to it that I think it's gonna be good just as is. Now, when I am wearing my hair down, if I'm using a cream blush, I always either go over with a powder blush or just like a little bit of light translucent setting powder, just to be able to set it, because when I am like, if I'm shampooing a client or doing whatever, I tend to, my hair just falls in my face a little bit more. And so then my hair will like rub on my blush, and I don't want that. So today I obviously have my hair pulled back out of the way, so we won't have to worry about that. So I really like this a lot. Okay, so I'm gonna go and quickly put on some mascara. We'll come back and we'll do a lip. All right, so I pulled out, I actually just opened up a new mascara. I decided to try the Dark Star mascara. I think I got this a while ago in an Ipsy deal or something. So undecided as of yet, don't hate it. Don't know that I would buy another bottle, tube. We'll have to see. Let me know if it's one of your faves. So I am really enjoying this. Now we need a lip. I have definitely been enjoying wearing a bit of lip liner recently. I've always enjoyed a beautifully defined lip line, especially because I love a crisp Cupid's bow. Even when it's not in style, I love it. So I am going to line my lips. I am going to go through with Wherever Walnut from Makeup Forever. This is one of the artist pencils, and I'm just going to, like I said, really focus on getting a crisp, like Cupid's bow, but keep it a bit softer around the edges, just so it's, you know, a little bit more natural looking. I really feel like my lip shape has changed a little bit since having my Invisalign, which I was told that that might happen, but because these teeth here used to protrude so much, so I think my lip shape is changing. I mean, not the actual lip shape, but the way that my lips lay now. So that's been really weird, kind of like getting used to like a new shape. All right, see, I just feel like that makes just enough of a difference that it looks so put together. Because I've got a fairly like papow eye, I mean, it's softly shaped, but the color's intense. I just want to stick with something soft. I'm enjoying the pinky vibes. So I think I'm going to go through with the Renew Lip Oil from Sigma. I have the shade Tranquil. I don't know why I have to look at this every time. I love this. I probably should have picked one up in their Black Friday sales. And so when I'm applying this for me personally, because I don't like to get lip liner all over this, I just put it on the middle of my lips, kind of like, you know, blend it in a little bit, and then just tap it over that edge so that everything has the same sheen. That also, I find, if you don't just completely coat the lip liner with a glossier product, your lip liner lasts a lot longer. So I really love that. I really love this makeup. So I want to just give you a look. So do you see what I mean, where it's like, it's a fairly intense multi-chrome, but it's done in a soft way. And it really does make a difference in making sure that you have a very dry brush to blend out that very edge. And I don't know if you can tell, it really does have a very seamless shift into that soft matte, because I do almost blend the two together, kind of like merge them so that there is a bit of sheen going up into the matte. And it's just soft. It's effortless. It's quick, it's easy, you know, like this is my life right now. I need quick, easy makeup that still makes me feel like I'm looking fresh. All right, lovelies. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to update you on. I haven't really had anybody ask about Live Miss this year, but I'm clearly not doing Live Miss. my schedule was just too crazy. And since I usually did those on Mondays or Tuesdays. And since I've pretty much been working every Monday and Tuesday of the season, it just hasn't been possible for me. So I apologize for that. I also am still not sure if I could even hook up my camera to get it to work for a live. So I am sorry about that. I do love getting to have, a moment to hang out with all of you live. I'm hoping in the new year to find some time, a little bit of calm, to be able to maybe have a couple live hangouts. Honestly, even if it's just like, if I can't figure out this whole Canon to Apple thing that seemed to have happened, I might just try to like set it up on my phone and it'll be super cash. Like whatever, we can totally do that. All right, let me know, by the way, if you missed the lives. If you're like, oh, it's okay, we just like filmed content, no big deal, then let me know that as well down below. You'll have to let me know what your makeup vibes have been this season. Have you been still team eyeshadow, or have you moved past the eyeshadow? I would love to know. I think we all know that I'm always going to be team eyeshadow, but I do think that this is just a fresh way to wear all the colors that we loved and that we spent our money on. Although I do think that I might have gotten that one in PR. Maybe I bought it. Who knows anymore at this point. All right, lovelies, this is going to be where I need to end this video. I appreciate you all so much. Please don't forget to give this video a like. It really does help me. Like, seriously, especially right now, since I've only had time to get about one video out a week. YouTube is like, we don't care about you anymore, Kelly. And I know that sounds like, please, please, please help me. But just, if you enjoy this content, honestly, I love all of you that leave a comment, that give a thumbs up, just to kind of push this out into the YouTube sphere. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday. I hope that if this is the last time that we get to talk before then, I hope that it either is or was a peaceful time for you, that you got to enjoy some time with family or friends, that you got to take some time for yourself to regulate your soul, to recharge your batteries. I'm looking forward to doing the same, probably in the couple days after Christmas, just to I'm going to finish this cup of tea, speaking of, and I will see you really soon.